So what we are looking at, honestly, with today's training, what is it really about? It's not about a stat sheet. It's not about KPIs. It's not about you growing your numbers so you can go, to the next seminar. We have done, 15, 20. I bet we're almost at 20 or more, live seminars, like gathering in person with you guys at with PX, whether it's team and leadership or whether it's, the adjusting seminar. And now that I think about it, very, very rarely do folks come up to us and say, hey, I'm seeing 500 a week. I'm seeing 800 a week. I guess what I'm trying to say here is our live seminars and the feedback we get from you guys is always about the kids you're serving and the families you're reaching and the pregnant mom whose life you transform. Like when you guys come up to us and share your wins, it's rarely statistical. And I can't even tell you how much of a breath of fresh air that is for me, again, personally, and really Team PX, and how just very congruent that is to the way we built this mission and everything we're doing. Because my journey with today's training is this. So, little story to set up the steps, all right? I was, and I think I'm recovering still. Like, I don't think I've made it through all the steps of recovery, of a completely addicted to stat sheets business owner. And I don't think this certain, to a degree, the level of addiction and obsession I had over stats and metrics and chasing goals and achieving goals and then moving on to the next one, I don't think it's unhealthy. I think like anything, too much of a good thing can be. And it's not, what I meant to say there is it's not unhealthy for me anymore because I took it to an unhealthy place. So I now know where that line in the sand is. Same as when I train you guys clinically and I say, hey, what would happen if you watered down chiropractic by adding all these different things to it? When I give you the answers as to what would happen to your clinical results in your practice when you add all the ancillary, secondary, tertiary services, I'm speaking from real life experience. I went too far and had to calibrate back to the sweet spot of clinical results. I did the same with stats, y'all. When I got into practice, I signed a 5-year contract with a coaching and management group that gave no craps whatsoever about clinical results. There wasn't a single PDF, a single training video. I went to these seminars actually as far back as an undergrad. I worked in an office as a CA and a chiropractic tech in an office that was in this management group. I went to those seminars for 8 years. Never once did anyone say, hey, when it comes to adjusting, here's how you get better at it. When it comes to care planning, here's how you get better at it. When it comes to case management, here's how you get better at it. And you may, when I say that right there, if I left it there, you may be like, yeah, those guys suck. No, they don't. They never told me they were going to do that. That wasn't the promise of the contract and the agreement and the conversion that I willfully signed and paid for. I was paying for business training. I was paying for business coaching. And so reporting my stats every single week and, taking my seat as, and it happened. I became so obsessed with stats. This is an organization that at that time, I can't remember, 3,500, 4,000 members, and they'd had thousands before that. We became the fastest ever in that group to go to $1 million practice. I'm going to share that story to tell you that right out of the gates with my practice especially, and I got so hooked on it, it took me about 10 years to get rid of it. Just stat obsessed, 100%. Now, thankfully, I've seen so many miracles with chiropractic, myself, my son. I never lost the soul of chiropractic when becoming stat obsessed, but I got out of bounds. Okay, I left that organization, joined another one, became a coach in another one, and in fact, I was so stats obsessed, I was the person that pushed this whole stat thing into that organization. And I said, y'all got to report your stats every single month, and then you sit over there. Like we didn't really do that. That's too much of a joke in my nature. It's not like we had assigned seating by how many you see per week, but y'all been in places that effectively kind of look like that, right? And so what it does is two things. I think when you go too far, you lose the true meaning and the true soul of why you are really doing what you do. And second, for those that maybe sputter out of the gates a little bit or get stuck in a certain place for a little bit, then they get the third T in play. They get so stressed, so emotional, so hung up on, well, they see 300 and I only see 200, so am I lesser than? That they get stuck instead of staying in parasympathetic growth mode. So my whole desire of telling this story out of the gates is we're going to teach you how to take care of your business with excellence. We're going to teach you over this training today and continued training and the whole module that's in the membership. We know how to build, run, and keep track of a thriving practice. We know how to use stats to make decisions that are clear, concise, and confident to say, this is where we're going to direct resources. This is where we're going to direct our training. This is where we're going to hire somebody here. We're going to spend money here. It's really not complicated, okay? When you do it the way we're about to do it. But if you love this stuff, I love that you love it. You can't love it more than the miracles. That's the only thing I really wanted to say in my long-winded way to kick this thing off. The order with which you operate has to go from why to how much, to how many, to all these different stats. And if you ever get out of balance there, the world will find out. The only years that PwC didn't grow very well was every quarterly training I went to. I wasn't looking to make more miracles. We were looking to make our stat sheet look better. I got out of balance for about 2 years total, and I'm glad I did, because I now know for sure the things that take me too far, and I now know for sure what the sweet spot is. And my prayer and my plan today is to get y'all to that sweet spot. So the number one thing I love about data and stats is it provides me clarity of a decision. It's a care plan builder, all right? And it says, okay, if we're looking at it from this place of if I want to grow my practice, if I want to go in this way, how could I clarify the decision? So here's the first one, and these are in order. But what I want you to know before I even put everything on the side, the right decisions need to check all of the boxes. If you sacrifice one of these boxes, you've let a side effect in intentionally. And if you, right, what happens with medications versus adjustments? Adjustments have great side effects, medications have, you crap your pants. So if you really, really, really want to make strong decisions, then you want to go through every one of these check boxes on every decision. And I will tell you, there's been a few big ones I've made in the years, knowing that one of the check boxes wasn't filled, and it cost us. It bit us. It always does. All right, so the first one, will this move us forward? I don't think there's anything more basic than that, and that's why it's so important, because it is the basic foundational decision that says, will this move us forward? Will this make more impact? Second, how far and how fast? Now, I don't think most people ever stop to think about this second one. They are just so busy. So the biggest thing that causes you fatigue, by the way, is not how many you adjust per week. It's not how much you do. It's your decision making. If you've been to Team and Leadership, you know, in this building, we do the owner breakout. We will change your life by talking about the 4D model of decision making and delegating. And so not today's training, but decision making is the thing that fries our brain. And then when our brain, nervous system is fried, we are fried emotionally, physically, and these things. And so clarifying decisions is one of the most energizing things you could ever come through, and that's what we're doing today. And one of the most important things you need to look at after saying, yes, this will move us forward is, okay, but how much, how far, and how fast? Hang with me on how fast for a minute. You guys, when you commit to a big project, when you commit to making an improved move with your practice, refining a system, adding something to it, you will get frustrated massively if it doesn't happen quickly. Why? Because you're a human. And out of the 33 principles of chiropractic, the 6th one, all things take time, is the worst one. I don't like that one. I wish we could wipe that one out. I wish it could be like, oh, we can make things happen faster. And so because of that, and I think I'm a lot like you, that we like things to happen quickly, especially if we consider the alternative, slowly, taking forever, then you need to pause during the decision-making process and decide, can I actually make this happen quickly? Now let's give you some real numbers on that. In a business landscape, practice growth landscape, think quarterly. Startups, lean in on this one. Veterans, if you haven't learned this lesson yet, it will change your life. It's one of those things I have for you that always sounds so simple, like, yeah, is he making that big of a deal? It's one thing and the whole hour training. Yes, think quarterly. When it comes to project management and growing your practice, you need to choose a particular category, a particular system. So whether it's your social, and I'm not just talking big categories. Think of this like your PX training. Imagine you're logged in the membership right now, and the membership is the most organized thing you've ever seen, right? There's 6 modules in there. Those are the 6 main levers of practice growth: certainty, communication, clinical, marketing, systems, team, retention, right? And so systems and team are linked at the hip. We consider that one. So within that, there's then subcategories or submodules. And then within that, there's particular tasks and things within it. I'm literally talking about that detailed, takes at least 90 days to improve, to add. Okay? And if you think you're going to pull off a big project, if you haven't read the book Traction, write that down with your training today. Traction is a phenomenal book to be aligned with our training today because it talks about project management. It's not as much into stats and KPIs. It's more into the process of how we improve them. When I learned finally years ago that I can't get that much done in a month, but I can get a ton done in a quarter, and we do strategic planning meetings, yes, annually, but also quarterly, and we pick one project. Huge team. We have 20 people on our team, and we pick one quarterly project that is significant. So if you are 2 people on your team, understand that this applies to you even more so. And if you think you can make a significant move in a month with your practice, add EHR, buy an insight scan, plug it in and figure out how to use it, and then interpret it, and then communicate it, and then everything else. That's like a little bit more than a month, right? So I could go on and on that one. I just did go on and on that one. 90-day increments. Why do you think corporate reports in 90-day increments? I have no idea. I'm not a financial investor. It just seems congruent with us, okay? Third, do we have the bandwidth? Now, let's talk about bandwidth. Bandwidth is not just financial. You're going to see I'm actually going to, the financial thing is going to come up 5th. What a lot of you guys and gals do that I think is a mistake, and I just want to speak to it with empathy because it's something that God has blessed us with to go in this order. We've never got hung up by QuickBooks. And here's why. So many people, when they're making a decision, they wait till they have the money to do it. That's not how money is created. Money is created through value that is first created, and then money flows from the value that is created. To increase the value your practice provides to your community and to your patients, and then thus back to you, you're going to need to commit to going thin, maybe even a little bit under, maybe a little ramen noodly for a moment to then create what you want. And I see it all the time. Number one place we see it is with team, with hiring. We speak to this every month, don't we? That you wait too long to hire CAs because you don't have the money yet, nor will you ever until you have the CA first. That's just one place I could say this. You won't have the new patients until you spend the money and the time on marketing. And so bandwidth isn't just money. Bandwidth is mental headspace first. When a lot of you say, I can't afford to add, we'll just use one of the things we have as an option for you. I can't afford PX Plus yet, or I can't afford a CA yet. I can't afford an whatever it is, okay? Oh my goodness, I hope I'm coming across in the right tone here with how much relatability I have to this. Look at it first. You're like a patient who is saying, at a day 2, hey, I don't think we can afford this yet. What that response is via those words is not saying what they're really saying, which is, you haven't met my value yet. And more importantly, you haven't exceeded the value yet. You're saying that to yourself when you put a financial hang up in way of it. Because what you're really saying, and maybe it's accurate, I don't have the mojo for that. I don't have the mental bandwidth. I don't have the energy bandwidth. And then if you understand that, you will then understand, okay, I can go after this right now because I have that bandwidth, not only mental mojo, but money as well, which will show up here in a click or two. It's all got to be there from a bandwidth standpoint. Does it fit the plan? And if you built a strategic plan and you're about to drop a bomb into it, well, then you need to go back and do another strategic planning meeting. And the one thing you committed to needs to come off the board to make room for this one. If you overcommit yourself or overcommit your team, your stats aren't going to look good. All right. 4th one, have we done something like this before? Do I personally have experience that I can lean on that says, hey, here's how we learn to scan. Here's how we install a new software. Here's how we add social media. The list could go on, right, of these new things that we could be adding to our practice or improving in our practice. And so if you haven't done it before, well, right here, line item number 4 is where for my entire career, in fact, I will never I'm obsessed with this one. The moment I want to go after something new or improve something with our practice, I can either, at this point, more gray in the beard, there's a lot of things that I can lean on our experience and we can kind of mentor or guide ourselves, but there's a lot more of them that we don't have real life experience yet. This is where you pay for accuracy and speed. So this fourth one will come back up to the second one and say, all right, if I want to do this, how do I make it happen faster? Mentorship. And you might have to pay for that, right? And that's awesome. That is a high return on investment because you can lean on someone and say, hey, I want to add this. I've never done it. I don't know how to do tonal adjusting. Well, there's that seminar. I don't know how to do care planning. Well, there's that training, right? I don't know how to grow a pediatric practice. Well, there's PX. So there's mentorship that you can go after and it will give you the blueprint and it'll add speed to it. So if you want to add something and you have no idea how to do it, don't worry. Now make the clearest, most important part of your decision, who's going to help me do it, okay? And they're all out there. You might have to have a suite of mentors and that's awesome, all right? And if you kind of caught my gist there, I recommend paying for it because we're all human. And if you get free advice, you're less likely to do it. If you pay for advice, for me anyways, where my money goes, my action goes. That is just how I'm wired. Most of us are wired that way to a strong degree, some stronger than others. I don't follow free advice. I generally just don't, right? I love to pay for mentorship because that pulls me into action and implementation, all right? And then do you have the financial resources? That one, that's an obvious one, right? Is there margins there? Will it change? Will you? And here's what a lot of things to grow your practice will do. Your profit will go down for 30, 60, 90 days when you made the right decision and then you do the right implementation and execution of the decision. Your profit may go, you'll never see a business growth that is just linear, like clinical. It is exactly analogous to clinical results. It's never going to be this smooth, awesome, perfect line. It's going to have these little plateaus and maybe even these little kind of like detox points, and then it's going to launch forward again. Financially, that's how you're going to grow your practice. And then marry Christina. If you, some of you right now, I'm not kidding. Many of you have a spouse or a significant other who is way better at making decisions than you. And there's no slide deck to it. You know, they just know. And I mean it. I mean those words that I typed in this. If you've read Patrick Lencioni is actually one of our The Ideal Team Player is our lead recommendation book in terms of the team space and who to hire. So it's Ideal Team Player and then who, not how. I generally despise strengths finders and those sort of things, but he did write a book recently. Ooh, and I literally just lost the name of it, but it talks about the 6 kind of like God-given talents or strengths and character traits you have. Discernment is one of them, so making solid decisions. Some people just innately, instinctually have it. We have that with Christina. She's always, and it's recording. We have 2 cameras recording us. We have really high-end microphones. So let me just say it for y'all. She's always right. There, I just said it. She's always right. Sometimes my stat sheets, and I'll even show up like, you know, like that movie with Will Ferrell and the other guy, like worldwide. I'll show up with a PowerPoint and a presentation and I'll pitch the heck out of it. And she's just, you know, she's sitting in the back showing, that's not right. And I got like stats to try and back up my point and she always wins.